adequately funding capital improvements over the time period reviewed, maintaining minimum reserve levels, as well as maintaining any legally required debt service coverage requirements, which are in place to reflect the past and or future borrowing to fund capital infrastructure. We've developed a study based on generally accepted methodologies. We've got the two manuals here, the top one, the WEF manual for Water Environment Federation for sewer, and the American Water Works Association, AWWA, and one manual for the water side. And we use those approaches and methodologies tailored around the city's specific system and customer characteristics for each of the utilities. Now, a rate study is a three-step process. It's a revenue requirement, a cost of service, and a rate design. These are sequential. We need to complete each of these before we go on to the next step. The revenue requirement is our financial plan. It looks at what is the level of revenue necessary to support the operating and capital needs. Once we know that total cost, then we go through the cost of service to distribute those costs between the different customer classes, so residential, commercial, and municipal customers. Once we know how much we need to recover through the revenue requirement, how or who we're going to recover that from through the cost of service, then we can design proposed rates, and that takes into consideration the cost of service analysis, the overall level of revenue needs, as well as any rate structure or how we charge the water or sewer rates to customers. As part of this process for the city study, we also went through an analysis to develop financial and rate setting policies to provide the city with some additional background and policies to support the development of the study. Really, we do this because it provides management with clear direction, provides the city council and staff with the basis or reasoning behind why past decisions were made or what drove different decisions, as well as helping customers better understand the council's philosophy as we go through this, and then finally providing a strong message to the outside financial community. So when the city or each of the utilities does go out to borrow funds, then we have these policies in place. We usually think about key policies around capital improvement funding, target reserves, and debt service, but we also think about how we're establishing the rate study. Rate adjustments being necessary to support the operating and capital needs. Part of this is driven by the recent inflationary trends. So just like us at home or in our businesses, we've seen these increases in costs due to inflation. Each of the utilities has also had these impacting costs over time. We also need to adequately maintain and reinvest into the water and sewer utilities, and specifically the infrastructure that's there to provide water service and sewer services, as well as maintaining adequate reserves to meet cash flow or emergency situations, or for future financial borrowing to provide that credit rating for that. Now, one of the components of the rate structure is a debt surcharge. And so we have updated that debt surcharge to reflect the planned debt over the study time period. So our analysis looked over a multi-year period. 2023 was our base year. 2024 was our first year, and then you can see there's a 5-year period, 24 through 28, where we projected rates to support the overall needs of the water and sewer utility. At the current time, an average customer, which is a customer that uses 600 cubic feet a month, pays a monthly bill of $59.43. That would increase up to $68.23, or an $8.80 increase in 24, and then the subsequent increases as we go over time, out over the years. On the sewer side, that average customer is based on a customer with 450 cubic feet, and that bill is currently $72.10, and that would increase to $74.34, and then increase over each of the 5 years to support the operating and capital needs similar to the water utility. So once we've determined that overall financial need, then we develop the cost of service to reflect the facility and service requirements of each customer class of service. This provides us the basis for establishing proportional rates to each customer class. And those classes are our single family, our commercial, and our municipal customers. This is something that should be updated and reviewed periodically. We usually talk about anywhere from 3 to 10 years. You should do that cost of service study so that you're able to capture any changes in your customer or system based on how water and sewer services are provided. It is a snapshot and a point of time. It's based on 1 year of data, 1 year of cost. Again, another reason why we want to look at this periodically. And this is really one of the first comprehensive cost of service studies completed for each of the utilities. And as a result, we're only recommending minor adjustments that we'll talk about in the rate structure and rate design aspect of the study. So going into the proposed water rates, the top chart shows our residential rates. So we have a monthly fixed service charge today of $1.68. That's in our present rate column. And we have a consumption charge of 5.7 cents per cubic foot. And then we have a surcharge, this is our debt surcharge, of 3.925 cents per cubic foot. As we go across the page, you can see the proposed rates. What you'll notice first in the single family or residential rate is that fixed charge is increased to $3.41, all the way up to $4.57 per month in 2028. Going to the consumption charge, you'll see a change in the structure. So one of the goals and objectives of the water rate study was to develop a cost-based proportional rate structure, but also provide a conservation incentive. So this is a tiered rate structure. So as you go through the tiers, you would pay a higher rate. So the tiers were based on the typical consumption of the city's customers. We have the first 400 cubic feet, which are charged 5.5 cents, so slight reduction from the existing rate on all consumption. The next 400 cubic feet are 8.5 cents, and everything over 800 cubic feet is 16.5 cents. So the way this works is if you use under 400 cubic feet, it's 5.5 cents per cubic foot. If you use 600 cubic feet, the first 400 cubic feet are at 5.5 cents. The next 200 are at 8.5 cents. So you work your way progressively through the tiers. You can see how those are calculated for or proposed for each of the future years. And then we have our debt surcharge. You can see that does increase based on the current and future planned debt to support the capital and infrastructure needs of the water utility. The bottom half of this slide shows the commercial rates. We have the same fixed service charge, and then we have the same debt surcharge. That is the same for all customers. The structure change for the commercial customers that is being proposed is a change to a seasonal rate. Now on the residential, we did a tiered rate to provide that conservation incentive. On the commercial side, it's a seasonal winter-summer rate to reflect that conservation signal. Really, that's done because each commercial customer has very different consumption characteristics. So most of our residential customers use water in a very similar manner as we think about how we use that water. On the commercial side, it can be everything from an insurance office with a bathroom and a toilet and a little kitchen for the staff there, up to a restaurant, which has a different level of consumption. So just because those customers use more may not mean they're being inefficient. So the seasonal rate structure is a method to implement a conservation-based structure going forward for commercial. So what does that look like? This chart here shows the present rates in the blue or the left-hand bar and the proposed rates in the red or the right-hand bar at different levels of usage. So going across the chart, it starts at 0. So if you didn't use any water in a month, you pay $1.68 today. The proposed rates for the first year would be $3.41. Jumping to the middle at 550 cubic feet, you pay $54.62 today. That will go up to $62. And so this just gives you that range of customer bill impacts as we go forward. One of the other items we look at is how we compare to other agencies in the area and region. And what you can see here is a bill for each of the agencies and the city, present and proposed, at 600 cubic feet. So kind of that typical average use we have for our water customers. You can see today that present bill is 5943, proposed is 6823, and then you can see the calculation at 600 cubic feet for each of these other agencies. Now, I always need to note this is not apples to apples. It does reflect their proposed rates when we put this slide together. Others may be going through rate studies or rate changes at this point in time, just like the city is, which would change theirs. But overall, you can see that relationship based on how other agencies in the region are charging. On the sewer side, this is based, we have our residential, commercial, and city accounts. What we have here for residential is a flat charge for base charge for each customer plus a surcharge going forward. And so that's based on that overall debt. On the commercial, it's the same base charge. Now that is one change we made in this study. If you look at the present rates, it's about $3 less than the residential. We're recommending and proposing that these rates, base charges, be the same in each year for all customers. That was one of our cost of service adjustments for the rate design. And then commercial is charged for usage over 500 cubic feet. And again, the surcharge component. And same with city customers. We have that same base charge, the usage over 500 and the debt surcharge. Very similar chart here for the sewer bill comparison for a residential customer. The present in the red to the left, the proposed in the darker black on the right, and then different units of consumption, 0 to 1,450 cubic feet. So again, a slight increase at 0 usage. At 550, it's about a $3 increase. And then at a high level of usage, it's about a $2.50 increase there. So fairly consistent on the sewer side with the fixed base charge and then your variable consumption charge for the debt. Similar summary page here for the sewer regional comparison. Again, the city's present and proposed. And then we have our overall comparison to other agencies. Again, same discussion here. Some of these agencies are going through some fairly significant capital projects, wastewater treatment plants. They'll be looking at their rates or are looking at their rates as well into the future and adjusting their rates as needed, similar to what the city is doing during this study. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Nate, or if there's any questions from anybody there, I'd be more than willing to answer those.
Any questions for Sean?
I was trying to kind of compare the sewer and the water, and I understand why we're breaking them up. I think a lot of our customers are going to be looking at what's my total bill. You know, is it that affected? Is there a way to get an aggregated chart and then the comparison that you did with the other communities?
Yeah, that's something I can put together. I have all the data, it's just combining them.
Yeah, I think if we were to do it by those same
Buckets, I guess.
categories, Sean, of what did we do, 400, 600? I can't remember. I think this is all at 600, right?
450 for sewer and 600 for water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and why are those different? Why are we using different usages for comparing the
So
average?
the average water use is looking at, it incorporates some of that, you know, summertime water use. So we've got a little higher average water use than the wastewater is more based on our winter use consumption.
And that's your actual average, is how we pick those numbers, based on your customer data.
Other questions? I think in terms of process, like I already said, the study itself has been accepted by the city council. That was done like 2 months ago, give or take. On this upcoming city council meeting, we'll have an agenda item to adopt financial policies that set minimum reserve levels in a number of areas and require the city to go through a cost of service and revenue requirement analysis every year, as well as looking at our miscellaneous fees every year. Then after that, it's adopting new rates and updating capital improvement plans and tying those together. So at this point, we're planning on an updated rate at the end of this year, but it'll probably be on the city council agenda in the next month or so. The reason for the delay on the actual raise is it's going to take time with our software to get that in place. This is a tiered structure, significantly different from how we do it right now. And so it'll take us time to put that into our accounting software and our utility billing software. Take some time to test it, make sure it's running it correctly before we go live. So. We'll make sure all this information is added to, we could probably do a banner section on the website, make sure that that's available there.
So do we have like the model that helped develop this? Like, let's say we decide on our capital improvement plan, we're gonna change the plan, like it's gonna not do as many projects as fast or something along those lines. Do we have the ability to manipulate the work they did to take the same kind of model and,
Yes.
and pull that through? Okay.
Yep, that's part of our agreement is that we'll have a base model that we can work with and make adjustments to each year. That's probably the only deliverable we have left on the list, isn't it, Gabe?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's really the last step in this process.
Okay. Good.
That being said, I've said it before, I still want to keep working with HDR every year on this, and even if it's just to double check our work and make sure that we're on track, give recommendations here and there. So. Other questions? Sir, any questions from you?
This is already final, there's no chance to voice your concern or opinion about the prices increasing?
There's nothing final yet.
Yeah, the rates have not been, the new rates have not been adopted yet. That's something that will be coming up on a future city council agenda.
Okay.
And going into effect probably later this year, early next year. But no, I think at any time if you've got input, certainly voice it here tonight or any other time.
So, I mean, we're already doing the sewer projects, and we are already paying surcharges every time the basin is upgraded. How many more projects, basins do we have left to upgrade? I mean, it seems like we're already running that ratio as high as we can run it, according to the city bill from the mayor. They're not trying to hold back. I mean, I am concerned though about just the cost of the water bill. If the kids play in the water and they leave the water on for all afternoon long, it's like, I'm not trying to waste water, but then, you get a $300 water bill, it's like, I mean, that is my concern.
Yeah. In terms of, other projects, the current capital improvement plan has, let's see, we'd have West 4th and Harrison to do. We'd have at least one more project on the north side, Poplar, Rummel, Cherry, South Elm. We have the Lewis and Clark expansion, which is something that we are contractually obligated to do at this point. We already signed on to that expansion, but we're not paying anything out quite yet, other than a couple $1,000 this year and next for engineering fees. I think that's all. That's left on the current capital improvement plan.
Part of this plan is like having your rate set up so we won't have to take huge future surcharge increases. Like you're actually building up a reserve. Now, I say we won't have any, but it's to get kind of some funding, pre-funding some of those projects in some capacity. because we know they're always gonna happen. We're always gonna be doing upgrades, we're always gonna be having to redo streets and water maintenance and wastewater treatment.
Yep.
Things like
Are we,
I would- yeah.
going to have to upgrade all the water lines next, or is that part of, for those water lines being upgraded now when we do the sewer upgrades?
We do both.
We're do
Yeah,
both,
they're-
yeah.
If we're in there, we're gonna do both, we're not gonna just,
In the past, there was a tendency to just replace one at a time, even though the whole street's torn up, you just replace water, for example. We did that quite a bit back in the day. For the last 10 years or so, that's not been our method. If we're gonna be in there, we're gonna take our time and do everything while we're in there, so we don't have to do it again, so.
it's a lot more cost effective, a little more upfront, but not, in the long run, it's way cheaper.
Yes, absolutely.
When it comes down to the a capital reserve and those kinds of funds that are built into these rates, that is just the water portion and just the sewer portion. It doesn't include streets, sidewalks,
Right.
storm sewer, all those other things. And, you know, if you look at West Fourth and Harrison, for example, or South Elm, those are going to be water and sewer projects, yes, but to a smaller degree. Those are largely drainage projects. Now, they're funded the same way.
Yeah.
And so we'll still maintain those projects the same way, but those are not necessarily just, you know, water and sewer are not our focus of those projects, drainage is. But while we're in there, if there's stuff that needs to be done, then we're going to do it. And in some cases that, you know, the water in a lot of cases, the water mains are in really good shape. They're fairly new in a lot of cases. But when we're changing elevations on some of these, or we're relocating other services or utilities, that water main may end up too shallow, and we've got a freeze thaw cycle issue that we've got to resolve. So there are other ways that we've talked about using styrofoam and helping insulate those systems too. So. Other questions? All right, well, Gabe, Sean, thank you so much for your hard work on our behalf here. I think overall, a very straightforward process. Lots of data to dig through, lots of spreadsheets, lots of review sessions, but very thankful for all your help and looking forward to wrapping this up here in the next few weeks. So. Thank you. Thanks, Sean.
Cheers, Sean.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Oh, I tell you, just
How's it going? Good to be stateside again.
It is. Just getting back into it.
I think you can add just a special spot right on the front banner of the website to put everything.
Yeah.
So if anybody wants to dig through the details, they can.